Welcome to the screencast, Writing a Thesis Proposal. This is part 1 of 2, Getting Started. This is a graduate writing workshop from the University of Saskatchewan, and my name is Heather McWhinney. I'm Graduate Writing Help Specialist with Student Learning Services. First, let's review the learning outcomes for this presentation for part 1. By the end of it, you should be able to see the proposal as a persuasive document that makes claims about your research. Avoid pitfalls commonly made by students in thesis proposals. And here's a brief overview of the presentation for part 1. First, we'll define a proposal, a thesis or dissertation proposal. Then we'll discuss the role of this proposal in the thesis dissertation process. Then we'll look at standard parts of the proposal, discuss common weaknesses, and finish up with some tips for writing a proposal. So first of all, what exactly is an academic proposal? Well, an academic proposal is a step in the dissertation or thesis process. And according to Locke, Sperduzo, and Silverman, a proposal sets forth both the exact nature of the matter to be investigated and a detailed account of the methods to be employed. In addition, the proposal usually contains material supporting the importance of the topic selected and the appropriateness of the research methods to be employed. I highly recommend these authors' book, Proposals That Work, a guide for planning dissertations and grant proposals. It has a lot of good advice. So what about the thesis proposal at the University of Saskatchewan? I should just say that for this presentation, I'm going to use the term thesis. I'm not going to use the term dissertation, but everything I have to say applies to both a master's thesis and a PhD dissertation. So no matter if you're doing a master's thesis or a PhD, the proposal marks the first step in the preparation of your thesis. And I should point out that actually not all departments at the U of S require proposals. And there is some variety in the proposals that are required. For example, some departments ask for a short and informal proposal. Others require a much longer and detailed proposal, and then you've got everything in between. And many departments require a proposal and regular yearly updates and committee meetings on thesis work. So when you're at the proposal stage, before you've started writing it, of course you need to decide what kind of thesis you're going to write. And there are different types of theses or dissertations. There's the standard thesis, which follows the IMRD format. That acronym stands for Introduction, Methods, Results, and Discussion Conclusion. Then there's the manuscript style thesis, which is a series of manuscripts, almost like research papers, suitable for publication. And then there are other types of theses which may have chapters or a more personal and creative narrative structure. So you need to decide before you start your proposal what kind of thesis you're going to write. And the Department of Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies has quite a bit of information on these different types of theses, these different thesis styles. So I encourage you to look at their website. And I actually have more information on the two types of theses, the IMRD format and the manuscript style thesis, in my screencast on structuring and writing a thesis. So you can see you can think of the proposal as a communication tool. Why? Well, the proposal communicates your research plans to your committee. And your committee members are going to use the document to do the following. They're going to provide guidance, they're going to offer you feedback, and they're going to approve the thesis. So those are really the three ways in which the proposal is a communication tool. You can also see the proposal as an action plan for yourself. And if you see it in this way, if you think of it as a step-by-step plan that you're going to follow for your research. So the proposal as an action plan should anticipate problems, include contingency plans, plans for alternative plans if your initial plan doesn't work out. It should provide a blueprint for your work and outline expectations on which you will be evaluated. So in all these ways, you can think then of a proposal as an action plan. And you can also see a proposal as a contract. Your proposal is a contract between you and the University of Saskatchewan, and it commits you to do the following things: to research your problem in the way you have set out, to conduct your research in an ethical manner, and to meet timelines that you yourself have set out in your proposal. So let's talk a little bit about some of the things that you may confront before you begin your proposal, or as you begin your proposal. And it's very natural to feel anxious about the process. So I've included a couple of slides here with ideas for how to reduce the anxiety you may feel. And one thing is to make a list of the things you think you'll need help with. So if there are things that you don't know, things that you need to improve on, make a list of these things and then determine how you're going to find the help that you need. The university has a lot of services in all different areas that you have access to. So in addition to making a list, you should talk to other people. In fact, these are people that might help you get that help that you need. Supervisors, professors, other students who have already been through the process, students who are just beginning like you are, librarians. All of these people are experienced, certainly maybe not the other students, but everybody else is experienced. They can help you. The librarians can help you with the research process. Your supervisor and other professors can help you plan your proposal. They can tell you, they can give you good models, and they can give you all sorts of advice. So one of the things that's important when you do talk to other people is to take detailed notes from your meetings, especially those meetings with your supervisor and advisory committee members, just so that you have a record of what was said and what the expectations of you are and what your expectations of others are. The other thing is, as you're thinking about what you need help with, you need to think about, part of that needs to be what you need to learn. What do you still need to learn? For example, maybe you need to learn citation styles or a citation management system like RefWorks or Mendeley to help you manage your citations so you don't get overwhelmed with having to write detailed entries. Data analysis techniques. You probably need to learn data analysis techniques for your thesis, statistical analysis, all of this. So maybe you need to improve your English skills, your writing skills, make a list of all of those things, and then figure out how you're going to learn the things that you need to learn. And look at models of previous theses and proposals. Ask your supervisor and committee members for the models they would recommend for the theses and proposals that they thought were particularly good. And so you can see what those students, the student writers of those theses and proposals, what they did that was particularly good. Another idea is to attend thesis dissertation defenses if you can, if you are allowed to do that, if your department will permit you to do that, because this can help you understand what's involved with the process. The other thing is, think about ethics at an early stage of the project and decide what's involved with that. I've given you a link here that will help you will help you determine this and seek approval. It's important to be really organized, of course, and one way to be organized is to prepare a detailed work plan. And always keep your dates in mind. So work backwards from your expected date of completion, and you can determine how much time you have for each task. And one thing that I know helps some students is working at a very regular schedule. So plan to work on your proposal at the same time each day. Map out maybe 2 or 3 hours in the morning. If you have classes, maybe you want to, if you're still attending classes, maybe you want to make the time that you work before you go to those classes or in the evening. But plan to work on your proposal at the same time each day for the same amount of time. This kind of regularity will help you get things done. And it's always a good idea to start with the part that you'll find easiest to write. The part of the proposal you'll find easiest. It's not a good idea to start with the most difficult part. Once you get that part, the easiest part under your belt, then you'll find it easier to tackle the more difficult parts. So another thing that's really important, of course, is the audience for your proposal. In this case, of course, your committee members. So you need to think about your audience, your committee. Maybe do some research, and you particularly think about the following: who are these people? Get to know them before your first proposal meeting. See if they will meet with you and give you some advice. Generally speaking, professors are always happy to be asked for advice and to give advice. If you can, influence the selection of the committee. Don't let your supervisor do this for you. Think about who would be the best people to be on your committee. And to do this, you need to think about their backgrounds. Who knows the most about my research area? Who's likely to be amenable to your study? And what do these people consider to be successful proposals and theses? So I would ask each one of the committee members for examples of models of successful proposals and theses. I'm moving on now to talk about the organization of a proposal. These and some parts of a proposal are pretty standard, and some are particular to certain departments. But all are going to have a title and subtitle. All are going to have, or at least most are going to have a table of contents. Some, not all, are going to have abstracts. All are going to have introductions. Some are going to have a separate section called a literature review. Others are going to have a combined introduction literature review. All are going to have a method section. Some will have an expected findings section. And some have separate sections on the research significance, research limitations and constraints, real-world implications, and research communication. In other departments, you may have research significance, limitations, and implications may be in one section. All departments that I know of ask for a draft table of contents of the thesis dissertation. All ask for a timeline. If money is involved, you will be expected to do a budget, and all expect references. So you need to find out what the requirements are in your department. It's a good idea to number the headings in your proposal. Why do I say this? Is because it's easier for you to organize your ideas if you don't just rely on a typeface to indicate what the level of the heading is. Much better to use a numerical system that can guide you in the preparation of your outline. And then if you need to add in another heading as you write, then it'll be fairly easy to do that. So I suggest one where you'd have main heading. Second level would be 1.1 or 1.2. Third level would be for the 1.1.2 would be 1.2.1, and then 1.2.2. Fourth level would be 1.2.2.1, and so on. So I highly recommend that type of those types of numbered headings for your proposal. Just like to touch on some common weaknesses of proposals, because if you know what they are ahead of time, you can try to make sure that your proposal is not weak in these areas. First of all, some proposals are poorly organized, and I can't give you advice on the logic that you need to follow in your proposal, but one thing I can advise you to do is to start your longer sections, like your literature review, your method section, with a roadmap, with an introduction that's a roadmap for your readers. And I would also recommend wrapping up each section with a summary. That kind of those kinds of signals to your reader can really help them find their way through the longer chapters. Another problem with organization is just claims are not presented in a logical order. Again, I can't really help you with what that logical order might be. For your discipline, it might be more important ideas first. It might be one leading to another. It's often methods are written in the same order as objectives and linked together. So whatever works for you and your particular project. A big problem is the writing as unclear and wordy. Sentences are too long. And one of the things that happens here is that students trying to sound academic, students writing is then unclear and difficult to understand. So I do encourage you to use plain language as much as you can. And I have a screencast on this subject. It's just about 20 minutes, but probably worth looking at. Another problem is the proposal isn't up to date with the literature, isn't current. And there are problems with citations and references. There may be plagiarism. This is not an uncommon problem. And I actually have, again, a screencast on avoiding plagiarism, which I encourage you to look at. Sometimes the citations and references are not done properly. A citation manager can help you with the references, but sometimes people leave the citations and references until the end and they don't have enough time to put them together. Sometimes parts of the proposal contain contradictions. One part says one thing, another part says another, so that's something to watch out for. And some proposals don't make a case for the student's research. And so one of the things you're doing is you're trying to make an argument with your proposal that demonstrates the importance of what you're proposing. So you need to see that your research as you need to see your proposal as making this case for the need for your research. And there is a screencast on writing a well-argued paper, so I encourage you to have a look at that. Last point here, last weakness is uninteresting and not innovative proposals. And so you need to make your writing engaging. As I said, demonstrate that there's a real need for your research, that this is important stuff. So if you can avoid these common weaknesses, then your proposal will be much stronger for it. Just a few tips to end part one here. As I said, pay attention to your organization, the order in which you present your ideas. Make sure that the order is logical. Pay attention to the development of your paragraphs and use content bridges to link sentences and paragraphs. I highly recommend the screencast on paragraphs. There's one part on writing an introduction and another on writing a body paragraph. And I also recommend the screencast on flow and coherence, because that goes over links, how to link sentences and paragraphs. Remember that first impressions count, so pay very careful attention to your title, your abstract, and your introduction. Be Be consistent with everything you do. So be consistent with your headings, with your font size, with your use of numbers, with your spellings, with the way you write your headings, for example, for your tables and your source lines. Make sure all of that is consistent. And if it can help make explanations simpler, present materials and visuals, tables and figures. And those references again, just make sure that they are correct. You don't want to have any problems with your references with potential plagiarism. And here I've just given you a list of recommended resources. This one here by Moshe and Park is really about this thesis and dissertation, but also contains material on proposals. This one here, Swales and Feek, Academic Writing for Graduate Students, Essential Tasks and Skills. Very, very good. It's not particularly on the proposal, it's on the research paper, but it has a lot of really good writing advice. And then this one here, Writing Thesis, Dissertations and Proposals, with a link to it there, also very helpful. So to sum up then, before you start writing, research not only your topic, but also the proposal and thesis processes and your audience and your committee members. Remember that the proposal should persuade your committee that your research matters and that your methods are the right ones for answering your question. Each part of a proposal has particular requirements and pitfalls. Think carefully about these before completing your proposal. And actually, part 2 of this presentation goes into more detail about the abstract, the introduction, it touches on the literature review, and the method section.